Welcome to the Soul Evolution Collaborative weekly video event, Truth Be Told. It is December, and that means that a lot of groups are starting to talk about their journey with light, and we're actually going to do the same thing with a little bit of a twist. We are going to talk this month about our theme, Light It Up, and this week's theme is Who Turned the Lights Out? And I know that sounds a little backwards, but it's actually really important. I think this is probably one of our most important topics. You'll see why in a moment. See, when we are born with this bright light, and then it is really easy, and happens to many of us, that light begins to dim as we get older. We are piled on top of with all of these ideas and beliefs that society has, that school has, that religion has, that our group awareness has. And a lot of this happens without our knowing, without our permission. I mean, if you're 2 years old, we get the beliefs that our parents have or that their parents had. And what worked 20, 30 years ago may not work best now. Or it may work when we're a child and not necessarily when we grow into adulthood. And what happens is that light just gets diminished and diminished in so many of us. If you've ever read The Four Agreements, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is something that Don Miguel Ruiz talks about as domestication. So this process of domestication is really a double-edged sword because on one hand, it offers us a lot of skills and tools that we need to learn how to belong in society. And on the other hand, it is what dims our light from such a young age. We have this window from 0 to 7 where our brains are wired in such a way that they're just literally a sponge and picks up everything without any filter, without any thought of whether it's good or bad for us or anything else. We just pick it up and absorb all of it as if it's true. So any messages that we hear during that period, during that age, becomes real for us, becomes our beliefs. And a lot of times this is necessary. Don't touch the hot stove, stay away from the fire, don't fall down the stairs. And other times, this is really what seems to dim our light. These thoughts that we aren't good enough or are not worthy or can't have these things that we want. As kids, we think that everything is about us. Every conversation we hear, everything our parents say, whether it's directed to us or not, we absorb as if that is about us. And it turns into, I'm not good enough to do that thing, or I'm not worthy enough, or I'll never make my parents happy. Whatever the belief is, all of those things tend to pile on and dim out this light. So if we know what beliefs we've been given, where they've come from, and we can check into that and question, what do I really believe? We can change that. We can keep the beliefs that we do want and get rid of the ones that we don't want, but we have to question first. And that really is what this week's all about. We're going to talk a little bit about the things that we can do to unpile all of those beliefs, to really dig down. We're talking going deep, asking some serious questions about what we believe, and reigniting that light. So this week is going to be great. I'm really excited for the segments we have, and please sit back and enjoy Truth Be Told.
Hello and welcome to the segment Labyrinths and Lampshades. Now you may be wondering, what in the world is that all about? Well, it's just going to be a time for us to kind of dive a little bit deeper into this idea of spiritual principle and what it means in our life. You know, in essence, there's really no difference between spirituality and life. There's not a spiritual life and then our other life. It's really all the same. So this is going to be an opportunity for us this week and this month to really dive in deeper about how some of these spiritual principles can really show up in our life in really practical and easy to understand ways. So the topic for this week is, hey, who turned out the lights? Now you may be wondering what that's all about too. So this is kind of an understanding of how we come into the world, and then how somehow through expectations and underlying beliefs and the shoulds of what we should do and how we should be and perceptions of others kind of get piled on to that self, and then it really impacts how we live our life. So in essence, when we're born, when we show up to this life, we show up what can be called an unstoried self. Now, this unstoried self is just the essence of who we are. It's without any expectation, it's without any doubt, without any fear. Kind of like when a kid comes into the world, you can see they experience life from this space of no fear, no idea of how they should be acting or how they shouldn't be acting. They are just free. You can even see this when a kid dances. They dance like nobody is watching. I mean, just full of life, full of that joy of who and what they are. And then somehow we kind of move into this kind of junior high phase of life. And I think oftentimes we stay in this phase of our life a lot longer than the 3 years of junior high. And this is kind of all the expectations and all the wanting to fit in and wanting people to like us and the perceptions of others and how we should be starts getting layered over that unstoried self. And we start creating stories about who we should be and how we should live, and fear and doubt and worry and all these things kind of cover up the essence of who we are. I mean, if you've ever seen or been to a junior high dance, I'm sure all of us have experienced the torture of a junior high dance. Kids, well, at least when I was in junior high, which has been a minute ago, you would have like all the girls on one side and all the boys on the other side, and everyone was kind of watching to see who was going to dance first. And then it kind of was that kind of, that swaying sort of dance, and not wanting to appear too different from everyone else. So just kind of watching to see what everyone else was doing, and then kind of living from that space. And that's kind of what we do. We kind of get trapped into this idea of that we have to live a certain way, to be a certain way, or we have to have success, or our who and what we are is determined by how much money we make, or what kind of cool job we have, or what amazing relationship we may have. And we really allow all those things to define us. So the trick is not really a trick, but the journey is to kind of move out of the junior high point of our life and really step back in to the essence of what that unstoried self is. And that's the life lived without fear and without doubt, really sinking deep into who and what we are. And that, in essence, is what spiritual practice is all about. It's just coming home to who and what we are. It's not getting something that we need, or looking for something that we don't have. But in essence, it's using the focus of spiritual practices, of meditation, of mindfulness, of reading, of contemplation, of walking in nature, all those things that serve to focus our mind. It's not to get something, it's to remind us of what we already have. And that is the truth of who and what we are. And then we can step into that kind of party club dancing. Now, I came onto the club scene fairly late in life, but if I went and I kind of was in that watching everybody, and okay, let's see, I don't want to appear too like uncool. And then by the end of the night, you are just dancing like nobody's watching. And that is what we're looking for. To really return back to that idea of the who and what we are is amazing. Who and what we are is beautiful. Who and what we are is the exact blueprint of this universal presence. And that's what we're getting back to. And that's a place we can truly dance from.
Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. This is going to be the really quick recap version. So two children, they look so much alike they could be twins. They were born into completely different lives. One was born into royalty, the other born into poverty. But they each wanted what the other one had. Their paths cross, they swap clothing and then swap lives, and then they figure out that, it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. So this is a story about the grass is greener. It's also a story about the assumptions and beliefs that we have kind of got piled onto us as life went on. We're all born as a bright, shining light, but slowly as life goes on, that light kind of gets dimmed down. And it's easy to see in children. They're full of wonder. They like to play and laugh. They like to learn how to make other people laugh. They really don't worry too much about what others are thinking of them or how they're judging them. But if you're paying attention, we can see when that starts to switch. Maybe it was with the joke that they played on one of their parents and it didn't go well. The parent got mad, a bad reaction. Or maybe it was a song that they were singing and their sibling or one of their friends felt embarrassed and got a little uncomfortable. And that caused some sort of bad reaction. All these things kind of dim that light a little bit. The child loses that carefree confidence. You can see it as they start to censor their behavior a little bit. They hold back. And this happens. They lose that sense of wonder and magic a little more each and every day. Part of this is we're born with a clean slate. We have no preconceived notions, no judgments about people or places or stereotypes. But pretty quickly, a lot of these things are taught to us by the people that love us and care for us. So it's no fault of their own. But we start to take on all these ideas of what to think, how to feel, who to trust, who not to trust. And then the institutions, the churches and the schools, our movies, the music, all of that starts to reinforce it. And we really kind of become the product of all these things added on to us. And then take it even further. A lot of people follow what we say is the formula. You get good grades, you go to college, you get a good job, a spouse, 1.9 children, and you work really hard. Sometimes so many hours that you don't even see your 1.9 children growing up to get to this place where you can retire, and then you've made it. So people delay their happiness till they hit this goal, but then they keep pushing the goalposts further and further away until a lot of these people wake up one day and they realize, I did everything I was supposed to do, so why do I feel so sad? Why is there something missing? There's a hole. So we need to stop and ask, what is important to you? Were you born a pauper or a prince? And then is your sense of self-worth based on that arbitrary thing? And then are we condemning others based on where they were born and their life socialization without ever imagining what it might be like to live in their shoes? Before we get to our deathbed, we should ask, what matters? I mean, really matters. And what really doesn't? How can I love bigger? Whose life can I improve? What lessons do we want to pass on to our youth? What world do we want to leave for them? It's never too late to ask these questions. If you were the pauper, how would you live your life differently? If you were the prince, what would be important to you there? How can we take the answers from both of those questions and combine them in order to create a life of meaning and purpose? That's what I'm going to talk about next week on Storytime with Chris.
So this is Mythbusters, the segment where we break down some of the most common beliefs, most of which you don't even know you have. And we're going to prove that they're total BS, basically. You think I can say that? All right, good. I'm going to say that. We're going to take a look at a lot of these beliefs that we are given as kids that kind of just latch onto us and we carry with us for a really long time until we realize that we don't have to have these beliefs anymore. So our first belief up today is that I am not worthy or I am not good enough. And I don't mean me, I mean anyone who says that, has that belief, and I guarantee you 99% of the people watching this are going to have that belief to some degree or another, that you have this voice inside your head that tells you you're not good enough. Well, guess what? You weren't born with that voice. You weren't born with a little voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough. So where did it come from? Well, unfortunately, that comes from our parents. A hard truth to swallow at times, for sure. But this voice that we get, and they don't even mean it. Our parents don't even mean it. They don't even know they're doing it. I'm a parent. I don't know that I'm doing it. But we all have this little voice that says, I'm not good enough for whatever it is we think we want. An unfortunate, really great example of this is that as kids, we are always searching for our parents' approval. It's kind of another one of these domestication things. We need to know that we are part of the family, that we are loved. And unfortunately, in searching for this love, it's not always recognized or reciprocated by our parents. And so this turns into, well, our parents are perfect, so what must be wrong here is me. Because as kids, we don't know any better. We learn everything from our parents. We idolize our parents. So if they're perfect, the only other logical explanation is that there's something wrong with us. So we internalize this not worthiness as there's something wrong with me. I am not worthy. That is totally not true. We're not born with that at all, and it takes recognizing it as the first step to undo this belief that we are not worthy, because indeed you are worthy. This next one is one of my favorites. Money is evil. Money is the cause of all darkness, or whatever version of that saying is that you know or have heard. And what's really interesting about this is it actually seems like it is true. When you look at it, if you look deep enough, you kind of go, yeah, money's evil, and then go, oh, money's not evil, people are evil, and then you take another step further and go, oh, wow, no, it really is the money and the greed. But it's not. It really is not. And I know this because it is not the money that is ever doing the thing that seems bad. It's the people behind the money. It's the people searching for the money. It's the greed. And actually, this brings us back to our first myth of not worthy, that people who are searching with endless greed have a deep sense of unworthiness. So this one pretty quickly falls into the busted category, because it is not money that is evil, and it is actually a great disservice to hang on to that one. If you think money is evil, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of money. If you think money is the cause of a lot of your problems, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of money. And in fact, in any way that you give your power away to money, money is what's in control. So the real myth here is that money has power, and it does not. Busted. One of the deepest myths that we pick up from a very young age is that we are part of this group and everyone else is an other. This runs so deep that it permeates all aspects of our lives and actually creates this very dualistic way of thinking. We, as humans, strive to have a place to belong, a group to be part of, and when we don't, our mind, all aspects of our mind kind of go a little wonky, and our brain's not really sure what to do. So we constantly are looking for a group to be part of. This one kind of seems to be a little bit hardwired, because we're not really in control of how our body responds to this idea. If we feel like we don't have a place to belong, then it definitely triggers some natural reactions, specifically fight or flight, some very basic survival instincts or responses. But the myth here is that there is some group of others. And what happens is, as a kid, we learn what group we're a part of. Whatever we are, there's so many different groups out there: Republicans, Democrats, rich, poor, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever the group is. That is how we begin to identify ourselves. We build an identity, an entire persona around what we think that group is. And so anyone outside of that group actually becomes bad, because they become a threat. It seems as if they'd be a threat to our group, but really they're a threat to who we think we are. If they're not those others, then I'm not who I think I am, and I don't know who I am. It is not our job here to create a greater sense of otherness. It is to undo this sense of otherness by becoming so comfortable with who we are that we are not defining ourselves based on some group of others. Myth busted.
Thank you for being here, and an even bigger thank you for watching it to the end.
It's our hope that this has brought you some things to think about. If you would like to dive in deeper, join us in conversation on Thursday night. We will explore these topics and whatever else might come up.
If this message resonates with you, please click like, share, and join our Facebook community, and sign up for our newsletter on soulevolutioncollaborative.org.
This is just the beginning, and we are excited to bring this philosophy to the masses.
Be on the lookout for videos, classes, workshops, and eventually in-person gatherings.
The Soul Evolution Collaborative is supported and made possible by people like you. If you feel called to pay it forward, like those who have come before us, feel free to donate by clicking the donate button or visiting soulevolutioncollaborative.org and finding the donate link on our website. As an outreach of the Orlando Center for Spiritual Living, all donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated.
We'll see some of you on Thursday night at 7.
Check out our website for more details on how to join.
Everybody else, we'll see you next week.